Hmm. Welcome to Undrafted Hockey Fan. I am Brad. Today we are going over the trade deadline day Red Wings edition. Meaning we're going to go over how each one of these affects the Red Wings, and in their standings, in their what they could have acquired and everything, and kind of shows the price of where guys are at this point. So let's jump right into this. We got Mackenzie Weegar moves from the Calgary Flames over to the Utah Mammoth, and so this is a huge deal. This is again talking about the Red Wings. They wanted a right-handed guy. They know they called on Uyghur. When you look at a guy like him, he has 21 points, 61 games. Great defenseman as well. He can play both sides. He's big for 6 foot as well. And so to me, this is a great pickup for the Utah Mammoth. Already in his first game, he already has a point. So where does he slide in? Right, he's going to be already on the top pair. He's a top pair right there, and he is older. Right, he's 32 years old. And this contract, they have him for the rest of this year and 4 more years after this, which is why the price is so high for Mackenzie Weegar. But this solidifies right there. You have a top pair defense. Sergachev would be up there, but he's currently out with injury. But that's a guy that he's a top two. He's in your top four. He absolutely solidifies it. What a great pickup again. You can move him around the lineup. This is a great pickup for the Utah Mammoth to make a push. Currently, they are in the first wild card spot. So again, they're in they're in the Pacific Division, so I don't think they're going to break into the divisional spot. But hey, this keeps them in that wild card spot for sure. So great pickup. Talking about so this is one of the things that people are really upset about is like, man, you traded out Uyghur, and you didn't even get a first round pick, and that was a huge sticking point for everyone. And so when you look at that, you're like, man, they should have got a first round pick, absolutely, but so they end up getting 3 second round picks, which it's talked about. There's the way it was talked about is that if you combine all three because they're all in the same year too, it's the equivalent of getting like if you trade all three of these, it's the equivalent of getting like a mid to late first round pick. So it's actually, and the thing is they're all in 2026 as well. So if Calgary wants to do a quicker retool, right, a rebuild, I'd say even so, let's say they want to use all these. I mean, these guys, this is a good chunk of the second round pick next year. So if you take these picks and you draft guys, you could have these guys in the next like 2-3 years, right? I mean, these guys could be impact on your team in 2-3 years, impact players in 4 to 5, 4, 5, 6. So just shows you that hey, you can take these and flip them for players. Like it gives you a lot of assets to kind of work with, especially with the prices we saw. I mean, this could be a good way to just kind of jump in and get a little more, more assets, but like be able to get more out of this draft, or again flip them for prospects that you already know what their value is. So they also picked up Jonathan Castagna and Oli Mata. So let's start with Oli Mata. Oli Mata, great defensive defenseman. He's in the first year of a 3-year deal. I loved him on the Red Wings. I was a huge fan of him. Again, he's not gonna put up points. It's just not his game. He's 1 point in 22 games. I think it was more of a salary dump. But again, I liked him a lot. Great defensive defenseman, and this is a guy they can keep around for leadership. But by the way, he can also play both sides. Great for leadership. You can flip him at next year's deadline. Again, this is a great pickup for Calgary Flames, similar to the White Cloud pickup. Again, another guy, keep him around or trade him. He's phenomenal. So then Jonathan Castagna, 32 points in 29 games at Cornell in the NCAA, over a point per game. Not mad about that. Play center. I mean, you have a guy. Hopefully, he gets the AHL maybe next year or something like that. Maybe he plays in your bottom 6. Phenomenal, great. You're not mad about that at all. So he's a 3rd round pick by the Arizona Coyotes. God, it feels so far away, but it feels so recent. Moving into a little minor trade, you have the Colorado Avalanche picking up Nick Blankenburg for a 5th round pick. I mean, this is getting a guy more of like a 7th defenseman. But he did produce well on the Predators. He has 21 points in 49 games. Plays a little bit on PP, PP2, plays a little on the PK. So you're getting a decent guy he's playing a decent amount of minutes, and he's 27. You're not mad about that. However, he is 5'9", and Colorado just traded away Samuel Girard, who was also 5'9". So you go these assets back, and you trade out Girard in a 2nd round pick. You get Kulak back, and then you also acquire another small right-handed defenseman. Great. Okay, cool. He's 27 though. I mean, it's not like he's not producing. So You're not mad about that. And in Colorado, I'm sure they'll make it work with him. I mean, he's just an extra. He's a seventh defenseman. Not mad about it. And moving on to the Oilers in Chicago, making a second trade. Mind you, we covered this trade as well on the for. Oh, by the way, Blankenberg, right-handed defenseman. How it affects Red Wings? Red Wings wanted a right-handed defenseman. Blankenberg probably wasn't going to be the guy though. He again similar to he probably your bottom six guy or your bottom six guy. Not really no bottom pair. Goodness gracious, bottom pair guy. So not mad about that. That's okay. Then you have the Oilers and the Chicago Blackhawks also made a second trade. This is, of course, they did Connor Murphy over to the Oilers for a second round pick, and now we have Jason Dickinson, who's an expiring contract, and Colton Dock, who is a expiring RFA, so they can re-sign him. They have his rights and everything for 2 years of Mangiapane, the rest of this year and next year at $3.6 million per year, plus a first round pick. And there's a condition on that first round pick, so we'll go over this. So, what does it look like for the Edmonton Oilers? I'm not a huge fan of this. I'll be honest. It's not my jam. I'm not a huge Dickinson fan. I think he's fine. He doesn't like so this year he's got 13 points in 47 games. He's your bottom six guy. He's maybe your bottom six center, I'd say. Like, so now they're gonna have him as their third line center, which is kind of crazy. Especially with they have Henrique, they have Dickinson. I'm just overall not super impressed. But I guess if that's what they think they need, I don't know. I mean, that way you have Nugent Hopkins who could play up top, I guess, as well, instead of having to play third line center. But you're like a first round pick, right? And mind you, you also get Colton Dock again, great young player. I don't think let's see how well I don't know how well he's doing this year. 14 points, 57 games, or no, 9 points in 53 games. So even worse. He's an RFA, so he's a young guy. Maybe he becomes a little better. Maybe you can work with him in the system. Maybe you end up playing up top or something like that on the wing with Draisaitl or McDavid, kind of up his value, flip him, get something else. There could be something here. The young player, not downing that. But when you're looking at like you get Dickinson and Doc for a first round pick, you're like, kind of feels lackluster, especially for an Edmonton Oilers who you want to see them make the big swings. They made the big swings for like Henrique and Wallman. They kept those pieces too, which is great. And it's like, oh, you Doc. It's like, okay, that's okay, awesome. But and I think the biggest thing is they wanted to move off Mangiapane, and that you're looking at, okay, move off him. It's not only this year but next year as well for his cap hit, and you're retaining half of Dickinson. Okay, sure, right? But it's not really that big of a deal to me. I'm not a huge fan of this one. So, also, it is all of the first round pick is top 12 protected, which means if the pick's in top 12 for 2027, then the pick goes to an unprotected 2028. So, and of course, but if Edmonton chooses to trade the 2028 pick, then it gets pushed. It's basically you're getting it's top 12 protected in 2027, and they'll figure it out more from there. But the big thing is moving off Mangiapane, this trade. Then we go to the Vegas Golden Knights in Nick Dowd. Okay, so Nick Dowd goes from the Washington Capitals over to the Vegas Golden Knights. 35 years old, and plus he's this rest of this year and next year. Not too mad about that at all, honestly. They trade out Jesper Wichmann and a 2027 second round pick and a 2027 third round pick and a 2029 second round pick. So this Nick Dowd, it's a center depth, right? The Vegas is getting a good center depth. That's gonna be like I think your 3-4, and they have lots of injuries right now. Lots of injuries with Mark Stone being out. You have William Karlsson out, Transil's out on season-ending injury as well. So they got a lot of cap space. And so this is not one of the big moves because the big move was the Rasmus Anderson, of course. But you get a Nick Dowd plays your fourth line center. Sure. I mean, cool. Like he's got 16 points in 55 games. Again, he's a bit older, so I thought a second round pick and a third round pick plus a prospect was a bit rich. But again, you don't really need him to play anything higher than that because your center depth is Eichel. They're playing Marner at center. That's wrong. Puckpedia has him as Marner as a second line center. You have Hurdle's your third line. Anyways, Nick Dowd's your second or third line center. Cool, awesome, fine. Like it is what it is. It's something. It's a little bit of solidification. Mind you, they're going to be they're first in the division. So, I mean, they're going to make it to at least to the second round, in my opinion. So it just shores up your bottom line. And so cool. Then you talk about the second round pick and the third round pick. And that, again, high price in my opinion. And then we're looking at Jesper Vikman. He's a goaltender for fifth round pick of the Vegas Golden Knights. He's out in the AHL right now, 18 games played, 3.41 goals against, and an 866 save percentage. Not great, honestly. Even in his numbers in the he played in the ECHL, the AHL, even WHL, he had decent, good save percentage, not a great goals against, but it's a contract. I mean, maybe Washington qualifies him, maybe, or let him walk. I mean, it's probably just more of a contract in this case. So just moving off of that. So how does that affect the Red Wings? So going back to the Oilers, by the way, affects the Red Wings. It doesn't. This is all Western Conference stuff. Doesn't really affect them at all. Nick Dowd moving off of the Capitals. I mean, just shows that the Capitals are selling. So that means there's going to be less pressure from them in the standings because Washington Capitals, I mean, they're pretty far out of it. There's 69 points. Red Wings are 77, so they're pretty far out of it. And this is not the only Washington Capitals trade we talk about today. But this show, like, hey, Washington Capitals are just kind of suiting up, going for a little bit of retool, knowing it's not their year, and making a decision. So good for them. Moving on to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, this is one that does affect the Red Wings. I mean, it affects Red Wings because there's a team in the division. Toronto Maple Leafs move out Nick Waugh for a first round pick and a fifth round pick. So for that, you have a Toronto Maple Leafs, again, an Atlantic team, moving out their third line center, and he had this year and next year. So again, you have a competitor you're played 4 times a year, and they're getting a first round pick in 2027. Mind you, if you look at the Leafs, the thing with the Leafs right now is because they kind of all went all in last year with picking up Carlo and they got Nick Waugh in the Marner trade, right? You get Laughton as well. So you got to look at what their picks are because they're not doing good this year. They look at the Toronto Maple Leafs, they're second to last in the division with only the New York Rangers behind them, and so they have no pick, no second round pick, and 2/3, and and they have a fourth and 2/5 and everything. Yeah, great. But again, no impacts for this year in the two rounds that count the most, right? We're most likely going to get a NHL player. And so, especially with a team that's just not doing good, right? So again, you're getting a first round pick for Nick Waugh. Great. Awesome. That's the important part, is getting a first round pick, because maybe they can take this first and a fifth and they flip it to this year instead and get a guy, or they can get a pick this year and draft, or they can take those first and a fifth, and over the summer flip them for someone and bring them in to make the team better. So, again, I think this is good for the Leafs, and of course the Avalanche. You're like, at this point, before the big trade we talked about with Avalanche, everyone was like, oh, Nick Waugh, like, do you really need him? Like, you already have McKinnon as your first line center. You have not Brock Nelson as your second line center. You're like, okay, we have Nick Waugh. You're like, okay, sure, it's not great. There's all these rumors and everything. We'll talk about a trade for them later. But Nick Waugh, it was a little disappointing at the time. Now looking at him, he'll be playing fourth line center. Spoiler alert: they get Kadri as well in the last minute. Great pickup in my opinion. I think this is gonna be good for the Avalanche. So I mean, again, who are a wagon? I think they're gonna win the cup. They in my opinion, they got it. So again, how does it affect the Red Wings? A team in your division is trading for a first round pick, getting worse, and hopefully verse them again. I think they might verse them again one more time. No, they do not for the rest of the season. So it doesn't affect them in that case, but hopefully, they can knock out some, like the Buffaloes, or give them a little bit of a fit. Montreal's, the Tampa Bay Lightning's kind of help bolster the Red Wings' odds of getting a divisional spot. We have an AHL trade, Jet Wu versus Jack Thompson. Not really a need to discuss on that one. You have the Panthers trade out Jeff Petrie for a 7th round pick. Again, not a huge impact. I mean, Florida is selling this year, kind of, but it's just more they had so many injuries, they're just not going for the cup this year. And so Petrie, Red Wings legend, great. Move on from him. And again, it's just a trade. This one's not a huge impact. So moving on to Michael Bunting as well. Michael Bunting, was the oldest Toronto Maple Leaf ever to live. If he is a good joke there and everything with him being a Calder winner or Calder finalist at like 26 years old or something crazy like that. He goes from the Predators over to the Dallas Stars. I mean, I think that's a good price. It was he has a decently high cap hit. So again, Preds selling, get a 3rd round pick. We already knew they were selling because they moved up from McCarron, Blankenberg, Bunting. Again, good on trying to just kind of open up their, get some assets. Barry Trotz, we know, is leaving. He has 31 points in 61 games. So, where does he end up sliding in for Dallas? I mean, the nice thing is you can slide him anywhere. He played with guys like Austin Matthews on the top lines and everything, but you're going to slide him mostly in the second or third line. Again, good energy guy, willing to grind and muck it up and everything. And let's say Sam Steele's having a little bit of a harder time. You can always bump him down, bunching it there. He can move anywhere. He's a utility guy in that sense. So good pickup by the Stars. And then Nashville again, third round pick. Not mad about that at all. So it is Seattle. So it's just, it depends on where they end up landing. And so how does it affect Red Wings? It doesn't really. It's all Western Conference guys. So not a huge deal there. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, is built for the fastest game on ice. With NHL props and live betting, every shot, shift, every save, every one, goodness gracious, gives you an option to get in the game with DraftKings Sportsbook. And if you don't take this advice, this is not betting advice, but you can go bet on the Red Wings. You can bet on me absolutely screwing up a ad read. But if you could, I'm sure you could on a different betting site. But if you're going to bet on a Stanley Cup winner, you can do the Red Wings. You can do the Avalanche. Again, if you've heard it earlier in the video, I think the Avalanche are going to win it. That's not betting advice, but that's something you could do. And if you're a new customer, bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code THPN. That's code THPN to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut. In Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Blue Hill Casino in Kansas, wager pass through tax may apply in Illinois. 21 plus in most states, void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required for additional terms and responsible gaming resources. See dkng.go/audio. Limited time offer. And we're back from that lovely ad read. So let's jump into the Ottawa Senators and the Seattle and then the LA Kings. So we have a trade where they end up sending LA Kings sent out Warren Foegele this year and next year, basically for a 2nd round pick. So you basically Dallas Stars and the the LA Kings sent out the Dallas Stars pick, and then the LA Kings send back the Ottawa pick. Great. And basically Foegele for a 2nd round pick. So you get in this year and next year for Foegele. He's at 9 points in 47 games, 29 years old, and he just needed to change the scenery. And that was the talk, is that they just needed him to move on, find out a way that they can, this is good. Just get him a different place he can play. They currently have him slotted on the 4th line for them. Great, awesome. Again, it's a 2nd round pick, but you get this guy for this year and next year, so he's cost controlled in that sense. So ends up working out well for both teams again, and they're both happy. LA, who kind of does a soft sell, moving out Warren Foegele. They're still trying to make the playoffs, so there's still some moves to be made, but they get a draft pick in that, so hopefully they can flip that in the summer for something that they actually want her. So, and then moving on. So how does it affect the Red Wings? I mean, centers get better. They get another guy, kind of bolster their lineup a little bit more. So that is a team that is trying to compete for a playoff spot. They are 6 points behind the Red Wings with the game in hand, but anything can happen. There's still almost 20 games left. Anything can happen. Team can get really hot. I mean, currently Buffalo, I think they're 8-1-1 in their last 10. So it can happen quick. So moving on to this. So we have the next one we want to talk about is the David Perron and the Ottawa Senators. Dave Perron gets sent over to the Red Wings. He's on IR, and so he's recovering from a sports hernia, and so he might not play the rest of the year. So if he doesn't play a game at all in the playoffs, the regular season, Ottawa gets nothing. There's no picks. If he plays at least one game the rest of the season, they get a 4th round pick. And if the Red Wings make it to the 2nd round, then they get a 3rd round pick. If the Red Wings get a 3rd round, if the Red Wings make it the 2nd round, give him the 3rd round pick, totally okay with it. If he plays a game, give him the 4th round pick. It's absolutely worth it. He's a vibes guy. He's great for the locker room. Of course, it's a guy that you're bummed that he walked away or they let him walk, but he's back, and I'm really happy about that. So, also, let's be honest, David Perron's just a vibes guy. He's dad in the room. He's gonna help. Like he is Larkin's quiet voice, and he's lead by example guy. David Perron was, I'm gonna yell at you. I'm gonna tell you what needs to get done, and I love that. So like, there's an example when Tyler Bertuzzi was like taking too long in shifts, and David Perron was like, "Yo," and he was like yelling at him on the bench, and I love that. So you need, like, again, I heard someone on a podcast say like, dude, I would trade a 4th round pick just to have David Perron sit in his street clothes in the locker room. Agreed. I think he's a good vibes guy. Kicks guys in the butt. I'm really excited for him to be around the team now. And we're gonna see Justin Falk as well. This is gonna be good. I think I'm really excited. I'm nervous as crap, but I am very excited for the Red Wings here. So, we want to do Connor Garland. So this is kind of crazy. Connor Garland, 29 years old. This says he's in the last year of his contract. Funny enough, he actually signed a contract that starts July 1st for 6 years for $6 million a year. This guy, I mean, so he hasn't even started. He's signed a new contract with the Vancouver Canucks, and now is being traded like before he even started the new contract. That's hilarious. And so, who are the Columbus Blue Jackets getting in Connor Garland? Well, so Connor Garland he's a very small forward. That's one of the things that's one of his defining features. He's 5'8", shoots right, can play both wings, but he is a grinder. He is a good aggressive grinder, and so he's got 26 points in 50 games right now. He's produced really well with, I mean, mind you, Vancouver's not doing that great in general, but I mean, he's hit 52 points before in the season, 50 points 2 years ago. Like, I mean, he's done well, especially for how small he is, but I think he's a good guy who's going to play on like a grindier role. And one of the things talked about with the Blue Jackets as a team, they have a hard time getting guys to come there. So you trade for a guy who already is locked up and everything, who's going to be here for a while. That's great. Now you can fit him into your top 6 as well. Play him on that right wing. You know, on a Stanley Cup team, Garland's playing the bottom 6, but in a case like this, he's going to play on the right side. Totally okay with this one. Kind of bumps Olivier down, right? It kind of gives a little more breath of air to this top 6. So I think this is great. I think it's a good pickup for them. And I'm excited for Garland to have that opportunity. And again, it's a third round pick. Is it so expensive? No. I mean, think about this. Like, you could have Connor Garland or you can have Warren Fogle. Like, you just throw an extra 3rd round pick in there. So I like Garland a lot. I think this is a great pickup. I think this is very smart for them. There's some competition with him going to the Islanders, but Columbus Blue Jackets won this one. So how does this affect the Red Wings? You know, Columbus is not far behind the Red Wings. They're 2 points behind the Red Wings, or 4 points behind the Red Wings right now with the game in hand. So if they're beefing up, or beefing up on offense, not beefing up in actual like size, they're getting better. They're trying to get better. They're going to make a push this year. Again, that affects them in that sense. So we'll see. Hopefully, it doesn't affect them too much. I'll be honest. So then you have Sam Carrick goes to the New York Rangers. This guy has been around for a long time. I think he was drafted in 2010. I want to say it's been a while, but he's 2010 in the 5th round. Just kind of, I mean, he's been rolling around. He's got 380 games. This guy's just been up, down, left, right in the league. Not a points putter upper. 10 points in 60 games. The highest he's ever gotten in a season is 20 points. So they pay. So, but he is a big guy. So in this case, you're going to get big since he's running people over. He's 6 foot. He's gonna fight you. He's just a grinder in that sense. He's got this year and next year left, so they get 2 years out of him. Trade out a 3rd round pick and a 6th round pick. Cool, like good for Buffalo. How does this affect the Red Wings? This makes them tougher, and they're already pretty far ahead of the Red Wings right now. They got 5 points ahead, 5 points more than the Red Wings. So makes them tougher, makes them harder to play against. So good for Buffalo in that sense. So moving on to so the Buffalo and the Jets make a trade as well. Again, another player. You have Buffalo picking up Logan Stanley and Luke Shen. And so this is a bit critical when it came to, I mean, so mind you, Buffalo was looking at going after Colton Parayko. They were going to send out a first round pick. It was reported a first round pick, and who's their other first round? Radim Murka, a big like 6'4" right-handed defenseman, just drafted in the 2025 draft. They were looking to bring him in. He would not waive his no movement clause, so they did the next best thing for a right-handed defenseman and went for Logan Stanley. So who is a UFA, and it expires at the end of this year. Plus Luke Shen, who also expires at the end of this year. So when you're getting two guys like that being pulled over, like that's a bit tough, right? In the sense that they retain on Stanley as well. Let me see. They might retain us. No, they did not. So, anyways, they get Luke Shen, who is so you get big defenseman, 6'2", right-handed defenseman. You get Logan Stanley, right-handed defenseman as well. So they're beefing up that right side. And so when you look at the Buffalo Sabres in the sense, you have to consider that, like, hey, defense, was that really your need right there? I mean, you have Kesselring already. You have Owen Power on the right side. You have Dahlin. Why you got all these right-handed defensemen, guys? And so it kind of doesn't make sense to me. Because you're like, okay, like now these guys are just in the press box right now. So I mean, there's no they haven't have a lineup the lineup up here right now. But I imagine like you already have Dahlin, Power, Kesselring on the right side. So you pick up Logan Stanley's left-handed defenseman. Sorry, pick up Logan Stanley. But you have Bowen Byram already, and Mattias Samuelsson signed for a long time. Like, okay, like I guess you got a third pair defenseman, cool, and you get Luke Shen leadership there, like cool. And you kind of pay a high price in this case. You send out a second round pick and a fourth round pick. Again, I think that was a bit of a high price. But again, they're making the push. It's the best options. So, I mean, good for them in that sense. They're going to be like doing a bigger push in that case. Looking at who they sent out, Isaac Rosen. He's only played 16 games this year with the Buffalo Sabres. He's got 7 points. If you look in the AHL, though, I'm pretty sure you're ripping in the AHL. So, in the AHL, yeah, 43 points in 37 games. So, doing a great job there. He's 22, so he's young enough. I think this is a good pickup for the Jets in this case. I like this for the Jets because they're old. They just need young players. They need guys that they can get some term. Again, sign a guy for a couple of years, and hopefully he drops in as like a third line player or something like that. That'd be great. Jacob Bryson, he's just you got to move off of a D in this case. He's not a huge point getter. 5 points in 35 games. He's a guy. He's cool. He's small though. That's the only issue. Is he's only 5'9". So he's a guy like good. I mean, Winnipeg needs guys in this case. But I like this. I like the Isaac Rosen. Is he going to be a top line producer? Probably not. But again, you need guys to play for you. You need young guys. And you move out two guys you're not going to sign in Luke Shen and Stanley, and get back a second round pick, fourth Isaac Rosen, and then a guy in Jacob Bryson. Cool. And they did a retain on Luke Shen as well. So awesome. Anyways, both actually Luke Shen and Stanley. So I mean, good on Buffalo in that case. So this is a huge trade. This is one of the big trades of the day. You get John Carlson traded in the middle of the night, like 1:00 in the morning, for a first round pick and a third round pick to the Anaheim Ducks. So this was like the big, hey, Washington's really making a push. They're really trading out a big piece in this case. And mind you, before, like, so Washington's not doing good this year, right? They're sellers. You know where they're at. You got to fill in some spots, of course, but before this trade, they only had their first round pick, and then they didn't have a pick until the fourth round. I'm pretty sure. Let me see. Yeah, they're their own pick, and they didn't have a second, they didn't have a third this year, so they had a fourth and a fifth, so and a seventh. But you have to like they had like, okay, we got to like do something with this. You got to get some picks if we're gonna be bad. We got to do some of these picks, get some people, replenish the roster, or obtain picks so you can get guys back. So they trade out John Carlson, their number one defenseman, ever, right? Like he's been the number one defenseman. He's the best defenseman that the team has ever had. And so and by the way, he's having a monster year at 36 years old. He's expiring contract, right? 46 points in 55 games. Doing very well this year. An icon, as reporters had said with the Washington Capitals, they said it was Ovechkin said it was the saddest day of his career ever. So like that's when you look at this, he says that you're like, oh, dude, it breaks your heart for Ovi and everything. But they get a first round pick back and a third round pick in 2027. That's great. And so again, I can see John Carlson. They traded him and then literally just signing him back. Like, hey, come on back. We'll sign you to $6 million for 3 years, something like that, or whatever it is. So just because of how big of an icon he is. But I love that for them. I think they drafted him too. Yeah, they drafted him in 2008. I mean, holy smokes. And so and the first round pick is conditional that if Anaheim qualifies for the playoffs, then the Capitals get the first round pick. If they don't make the playoffs, then Anaheim can send either this year or next year's pick to them. So again, we'll kind of see how that ends up happening. I think currently Anaheim is Anaheim is in their first divisional spot in the Pacific. So they're doing all right in this case. So good for the Anaheim Ducks, just really suiting up. Again, good for the Ducks in this case. Moving on to David Jiricek for Bobby Brink. So this is a Flyers and a Minnesota Wild trade. Minnesota Wild, what you're doing is they're bolstering their middle six basically. And this has been, if you just look at this as like a trade in isolation, I think Minnesota wins this one in this case because it's Bobby Brink, middle six, right? Is it the good long play? I don't know. He's got 26 points in 55 games. So he's again former second round pick. I mean, he's doing well. And for the Minnesota, was this the movie you want him to make? No, you want him to get a center. You want Minnesota need a center. You currently have Ryan Hartman as your number one center, then Joel Eriksson, and then you're off. Maybe you're off eventually breaks out to be your number one center, but it's just like, it's not what you want to see, especially for a team has to beat, Dallas and then to beat Colorado. I mean, and their wingers look great. You have Kaprizov, you have Zuccarello, you have Matt Boldy, of course, right? Like even Tarasenko's doing all right. 33 points in 56 games. So you get a winger. He's young, great. He's an RFA, cool. Like so you have control of him, everything. But that's kind of I think there's a little bit of a dud there. And you have Jiricek as well. This is the second time he's been traded. So again, in isolation, I think this is better for the Wild because they get some guy they can use now. And they, who do you like? David Jiricek is trying to be a number one defenseman on this team. Who are you going to take out? Quinn Hughes, Faber, like you have Spurgeon, like you have like good defensemen already. I don't really see this as like a big, like you're not getting a great, like there's not a good spot for him, I guess, in this case. So when you look at the Philadelphia Flyers, you're like, okay, this guy can, maybe break out. He's gonna be part of your long-term plan. Mind you, like this guy has he's 0 points this year. He has 0 points in 25 games this year in the NHL, but in the AHL, he has 10 points in 24 games. That's tough, especially on a Minnesota Wild team who's doing well. That's tough, right? So if you look at the defense here for the Flyers, though, they were looking at trading Ristolainen and didn't happen. But you have Cam York, Sanheim, like Drysdale. So you have some guys here you can work with. But David Jiricek's gonna have to start working towards earning one of those pieces. Again, but overall, if you're talking about the David Jiricek trade in general, I think let's see, Columbus traded David Jiricek for like a first, second, third, fourth. I think it was something crazy like that. Plus Damian Hunt. Like it was crazy that they got that big, they get that big package for him. Or they trade a big package for him, and it really hasn't worked out. So cut your losses, get a guy that you can use now. Because right now you have Quinn Hughes, so go for it right now. Again, so going back, how do the Anaheim Capitals doesn't really affect the Red Wings. Capitals get worse. So hopefully you can clean up some points from them. Philadelphia, Minnesota. Flyers get an AHL guy. Flyers get worse because they lose a roster guy. And for against Minnesota, it doesn't really affect the Red Wings in this case. Boston, Philadelphia, they made some AHL trades, some young guys. Good for them. Like, just go out, make some smaller trades. None of these guys have played in the NHL this year, so we'll skip past this one. Does not affect the Red Wings. Chicago sends Nick Foligno to the Minnesota Wild. That's awesome because they just he gets to go play with his brother. He's 38 years old, right? Gets a shot at a Stanley Cup, so good for him. Captain and everything. And now Bertuzzi and Connor Bedard are now both wearing the A's, and I'm sure Bedard will get the C at the end of this year. So, Hinostroza. So because Wild acquired Nick Foligno, they sent Vinny Hinostroza to the Florida Panthers for future considerations. Both were for future considerations. How does it affect the Red Wings? It really doesn't, right? It's Minnesota. They're just getting some older guys. In Florida, who's selling as it is, they get Hinostroza. Of course, they use this guy, or Florida then ends up beating the Red Wings on Friday, same day, which is a bummer. So then you have, moving on to the Tampa Bay Lightning. The rich get richer in this case. You have the Tampa Bay Lightning picking up Corey Perry at 40 years old. This guy was drafted. I mean, I gotta look this up. He was drafted, I think it was 2005, 2003. Goodness gracious. No, 40 years old, drafted in 2003. He's got 28 points, 50 games with the LA Kings. Scored in his first game back with Tampa Bay Lightning. He did play with them back in 2021, 22 season and 22, 23 season. This guy is notoriously not made, or he's been to the Stanley Cup finals like one like 4 or 5 times in the last couple of years, and has been the loser every time. And it's just it's comical at this point. So the joke was that, like, now Tampa Bay, sorry, you're now not going to win this. My wife said that. She's like, hey, don't they know they're not going to win the Stanley Cup this year then? So, which is great. So again, LA, I know they're trying to make the playoffs. They made this big trade for Panarin, but they move off Corey Perry. You get a second round pick. That's a good piece. A second round pick's like not nothing to scoff at for a guy who's 40 years old. I mean, you retain half his salary. Like, good on Holland. Like, this is a good pickup. And of course, when you look at the Tampa Bay Lightning again, like I said, rich only get richer. He easily slots in anywhere you want him, right? And he's still putting up great numbers. I think currently they have him just in I think they played him one game. Let's see, Perry. I think I'm the fourth line right now with like Connor Geeky and Sabrin, right? But like, he could play anywhere in the lineup. If someone goes down for injury, like, I mean, good for the LA Kings or the Tampa Bay Lightning. Kucherov, of course, having a sneaky 100-point season, which is the guy closest to him is 67 points in Jake Gensel. Monster, just monster. So, the LA or this one affects Red Wings. Red Wings sent out Elmer Soderblom for a 3rd round pick. This 3rd round pick they acquired. I mean, it's a nice little extra piece, of course. Elmer Soderblom, he had this rest of this year and next year on the, like, as a contract. Again, it's a bummer, but this guy is 6'8". A problem is he doesn't use his size like you want him to. He's great hands, but he's not mean. It's unfortunate. So hopefully they can unlock him there. He played 39 games this season, but he had only had three points. So again, hopefully Kyle Dubas, since I've learned using him a ton, hopefully he gets like as much experience as he can. Like, again, I'm happy for him. I want him to thrive. Big fan of Soderblom. I just don't know if it wasn't working out in the Red Wings organization. And to me, this is still a win for the Red Wings in this case. So, mind you, Perron's going to take his spot in the forward lineup. And so you have with Soderblom, he was a 6th round pick and back in 2019. So Red Wings make this pick. And so you get the 6th rounder, makes the NHL, plays 86 games with the Red Wings, and then you flip him for a 3rd round pick. Like, that's a win. That's an absolute win when it comes to drafting. So again, not mad at Eisman in this case. So, I mean, it's a bummer. We like Soderblom, but again, I hope and wish the best for him. Again, I hope the Penguins end up re-signing him because, again, he's just a fun, cool character. He's so sweet. He's very nice, and he's very adorable. So, AHL trade, Pouliot and Thompson. Not worried about that one. It's not going to really affect the Red Wings in this case. So, Ryan Strome goes to the Calgary Flames for a 7th round pick. I don't know. I mean, so Calgary picks up Ryan Strome as a center. Everyone's like, why is that? It's like a 7. This is prior to the big trade. But Calgary Flames get him. It's basically you're trading for Corey Perry, Kadri. We'll talk about that in a second. Carolina gets Delorier. Flyers get a 7th conditional. Lucas Reichel was not doing great. Vancouver Canucks, so they traded him for a 6th-round pick. He had 5 points in 19 games. Again, hopefully, Boston unlock him. They're in the middle of a rebuild, so they're in a retool, I guess. But they're in a wild card spot, so hopefully this young player can get in the lineup and put up some points and everything. Again, Vancouver tried. Vancouver's selling everybody, so moving on here. Justin Falk. So this is the big trade for the Red Wings. Justin Falk is traded from the St. Louis Blues to the Detroit Red Wings. So originally, I thought he had just this year left. So I was saying trade him for a 2nd-round pick and a 4th-round pick. That's what I was going to trade him for. And then I found out he's next year. So I'm like, okay, do a 1st and a 3rd is what my thought. And so I'm like, okay, that works out just fine. Then I finally threw in Dmitry Buchelnikov, which if you're not a Red Wings fan, you will know about him, but we'll talk about them in a second. But who are the Red Wings getting in Justin Falk? He is immediately your second-line right-handed defenseman. He has 32 points in 61 games, and almost immediately he goes and he starts to become your second power play, second PP quarterback. And then, so what the Red Wings were doing at the start of the year, they had ASP as the quarterback. And then recently they put Johansson at the top, and then they put ASP on the flank or bumper. I think it's a flank. And so just for shooting, because that's where he played in the SHL and he thrived there. And that's what I've been saying this whole time. Don't put ASP as a quarterback. He's an offensive guy. Let him focus on shooting and scoring. And so with Falk, this is a great pickup in this case. So you take out Johansson, you put him on PP2. Mind you, he's playing 2 minutes a game on PP. He plays PK, plays a minute and a half on PK as well a game. So you're getting a guy who can play on both special teams. He is older, 33 years old, but again, you're in a right-hand defenseman. You take on the full salary. He's got this year and next year. So, but he's a big body and everything. So, and immediately that moves down ASP to the 3rd line. Totally okay. You're not playing Hamonic anyways. Maybe Jacob Bernard-Docker at 6th round still, but again, he's not of the caliber of a Falk. So this is a huge pickup on the right side of defense, which is exactly what the Red Wings needed. Now, who are you moving out? Justin Hall. The jokes are plenty. It did not work out with the Red Wings. He's been playing the AHL all year. But maybe he gets an opportunity to play with the Thunderbirds down there, or maybe St. Louis decide to bring him up and play him in the actual lineup. Like, good for him. Like, hopefully he gets an opportunity. Nothing against Justin Hall, just has not worked out with the organization. So, again, you remember out a 1st-round pick and Justin Hall. They have Justin Hall in the on Pakita in the lineup. He's in the press box right now, but I mean, that could be something. So, and then, so you a 1st-round pick and a 3rd-round pick. The 3rd-round pick was the one from the Sharks. From the Penguins. It's a Sharks pick, but they got it from the Penguins in the Soderblom trade. So basically a free pick in that case. So you are moving out on Buchelnikov, who the Red Wings were very high on. He's a smaller forward, 2nd round, 5'10", plays in the KHL. He was injured this year, only 23 points in 39 games, but last year, 54 points in 65 games. Again, huge fan of that. Him, kind of a boomer bust. I can see him making the NHL. I think his contract in the in the KHL is going to end this year, but he's a big boomer bust, and that's kind of why you liked him. He was like, oh man, maybe he's a 2nd-round guy who will pop out of nowhere. It was exciting. Hopefully he works out. Hopefully St. Louis gets a guy in him and everything. But again, Red Wings are focused on making the playoffs. So they're in the first wild card spot because Buffalo and Montreal have just been doing phenomenally in the last 10 games. So hopefully Justin Falk, who debuts today, makes that start and is like, yes, like he solidifies it. And again, hopefully Perron gets back in there as well into the lineup. So win this fact by Red Wings because helps their chances. The issue is that the 2026 1st-round pick is unconditional. So if the Red Wings miss the playoff, you're looking at a top 16, 15 pick. And I have an issue with that. That is a scary thing. So Red Wings now is basically Eisman saying, hey, guys, I got you the players. It's on you. If you miss the playoffs, it's on you. So, which I'm okay with. But again, I'm still panicking just a little bit. So Capitals pick up Liljegren. Timothy Liljegren for a 4th-round pick. Young guy. Hopefully he can find a spot. And plus, Spencer Carberry is the coach of the Capitals. He knows Liljegren from his days in Toronto. And also Rasmus Sandin played with Liljegren. So hopefully they know each other. They have a connection there, Swedish connection and everything. And hopefully they can make something of that. So Tanner Pearson goes to the Buffalo Sabres. Again, Buffalo kind of just locking up, getting another guy for this playoff push and everything, and a 7th-round pick. One of the big ones here is Braden Shen going to the Islanders for a 1st-round pick, a 3rd-round pick, Jonathan Drouin, and Marcus Godolph. So Braden Shen waives his no movement clause to go there. 28 points, 61 games. Older forward. He's got the rest of this year and 2 years after this. So you're paying for a guy who's going to bring some not youth. He's bringing experience to the team. And you're moving off a 1st-round pick, which is the Avalanche overall 1st-round pick. So you're like, I mean, it's going to be like 28 to 32 this year. So that's kind of a bummer for St. Louis. But again, there's a guy who had to waive his no movement clause. So you just whatever package you can get, which is the best. So a 3rd-round pick, great. You get Marcus Godolph. He's a 20-year-old goalie in the SHL. He's doing fine in the SHL. 895 and a 285 in 25 games. He's 20. Hopefully works out. Maybe we'll see. The big thing is that St. Louis is taking on is Jonathan Drouin. The rest of this year and next year at a $4 million cap it. So that is a big piece of business there. So New York Islanders are adding Braden Shen, and it only costs them $2.5 million extra this year and the next couple of years. So and cap's going up. So that's good for the Islanders. Again, you moving off a 1st-round pick. You had enough and everything. You're kind of starting to try and give this team their flowers and saying, hey, you earned this, and now they're bringing Braden Shen. I don't care if the Islanders would have tanked a little more. They are in the second divisional spot, but the Metropolitan sucks. So I'm not. Not as bad as the Pacific, but I think it was too soon. I wish they would have waited for the draft or something like that. But this is Matthew Darch just trying to give his guys some flowers and give him a little extra boost. So you have next one. You have Rangers about Brennan Othmann for Jacob Battaglia. Othmann wasn't working out with the Rangers, and so they move off of him, and they end up getting younger with Jacob Battaglia. Brennan Othmann had 1 point in the last 17 games. Calgary needs young guys. They're in the middle of a rebuild, which I'm really happy they're doing. So I think it's hey, both these guys can try and work it out. So now we got down to later trades. We only got a couple more trades. Yeah, nothing of huge significance besides this Kadri trade, which everyone was asking for. Everyone wanted this. The biggest sticking point was, I imagine cap as well. When you're looking at this, so you have the Calgary Flames trade out Nazem Kadri. They retain $1.4 million for this year and 3 years afterwards. So that's a good chunk of change. Also sent out a 4th-round pick for Victor Olofsson, who is a good player. He's 25 points in 60 games. But again, when you're loading up like the Colorado Avalanche is, this guy's just a casualty. Maxmilian Curran, I'm familiar with him, but a 1st-round pick, which is top 10 protected, basically. It's a 1st-round pick. I'm not going to get into big details of that. Maximilian Curran, by the way, 41 points in 31 games. So he did really well in the U20 tournament as well. So, this is the big one, right? This is now you have a guy. Is Nazem Kadri the same Kadri that they won the Stanley Cup with back in 2020, 2021, 2022? No, he's older. He's slower. But you don't need a 2C Kadri. You need a 3C Kadri, right? Because now you have a Nathan McKinnon, you have a Brock Nelson. Again, you can put Kadri at 3C, push Nick Waugh down to 4C. So this is a win-win-win. I'm really happy for this. I'm really happy for them. I think currently Puckpedia has been playing on the second line on the right wing, which pushes Gavin Brindley down. There's a ton of options here. I really like this. This is a great trade. I'm happy for Nazem Kadri. I know he really wanted to get traded as well. He said it would have gone to the Stars. Speaking as someone who didn't do almost anything is the Stars, which I'm really surprised with. So again, you don't like losing Olofsson, but this is they're going all in, man, and I love this for them. Again, the Calgary Flames retained, which they never do. So this is a big thing. I mean, what's he gonna look like at the end of this contract? You don't really care because you want him now for what he can do now. And even on a bad Calgary Flames team, he had 41 points in 61 games. So again, he's really producing still, which is crazy. So Leafs lose the Scott Laughton trade, but Leafs get a third round pick for Scott Laughton. Cool. It was something that you moved off a guy who's a free agent, so they probably held out longer than they should have, but they get something. They get a third round pick. So he had 12 points in 43 games. It just solidifies more of the center depth for the LA Kings. Moving on to the next trade, we have David Kampf goes to Capitals for a 6th round pick. And again, Capitals are trading out guys. They need to get guys back. An AHL trade between the KHL and it's the AHL trade. AHL trade for the Capitals and the Senators. And the last trade of the day is Bobby McMann going to the Seattle Kraken and the Toronto Maple Leafs getting back a 2nd round pick and a 4th round pick. So Bobby McMann had a pretty good year this year. This guy's been fighting since college. He did ECHL, he did AHL, NHL. So this guy's really been grinding, and very proud of this guy. And he's just been just grinding since forever, honestly. And so he had 32 points in 60 games this year. Really, it's his highest production ever in the NHL. And who does Seattle get in this case? They get a guy who's a middle 6 guy, which they have a ton of. Seattle is fighting for a playoff spot. They're currently in the last wildcard spot, barely holding on with San Jose, just a point behind them. So we'll see. I mean, again, I don't. This is the big move that Seattle needed to kind of really push. But I mean, this was tough. Supposedly they were going to pay for Panarin. Instead, they get Bobby McMann. The prices supposedly for Bobby McMann were a 1st round pick. Supposedly, the Oilers wanted the Bobby McMann, and so Toronto waited too long, held on too long, didn't get the 1st round pick. They got a 2nd and a 4th, which is fine, but in this case, like Toronto, you wish you would have done it earlier. Wish done it earlier in the week and try and negotiate that, but supposedly the market wasn't as good as you thought it was. So again, good on them. We can do a winners and losers later, but this video has gone long enough. Anyway, so let me know what your thoughts are on anything that I talked about. What were your favorite trades? How'd your team do this year? So let me know and hit like and subscribe, and I'll catch up with you guys soon. Bye.